Welcome back to Benny's Custom Works, proudly supported by Sparesbox. Today we're back on Adam's Sylvia. We've been chipping away at it off camera for a while, so heaps of stuff's happened. We've got our loom in with our Haltech ECU, our wideband sensors on the bench, so we're going to fit them today. We're going to put our starter motor in. Nathan's done a stack of rewiring, so we've got all new power and grounding's been run. All of our headlight circuitry's been replaced. Nothing is left of the original Nissan loom except for the the head lining harness. So now we've got an interior light, but that is it. So basically the loom that came out of this is just so badly hacked and chopped, it just wasn't going to work. But we probably mentioned before, the loom in this car wasn't even from this car. So someone's changed it at some point and put a 180SX complete loom front to back in this car. I don't know why. Probably an engine conversion that went a bit crazy, because this was originally a CA car, but that loom that came out of it is a completely, or a complete SR body loom and engine loom. So yeah, I'd say rather than doing a bit of rewiring at one fuse box because a couple of plugs didn't match up, they've gone and changed the whole body loom. I don't know, seems like more work than just working out what the wires were, but yeah, so we've rewired the whole chassis, and today we're gonna do, hopefully we'll finish the fuel system. So we're going to mount our Raceworks intake pumps, we're going to do fuel filter, we're going to do hopefully all of our AN plumbing. We've got to put the starter motor in, and then we're going to move on to some fabrication. We've got to cut the chassis rail to clear the alternator. On a street car, I wouldn't do it. On this car, it doesn't matter. And hopefully also we'll try and get the radiator in, but we're going to see how we go for time. So we've had to start a bit late because of tons of noise this morning. So we've basically lost an hour watching some dude push a leaf blower around the car park. But we're going to hook into it, and hopefully we can get as much done as we can. We're just pulling our fuel tank apart here. Primarily this style of cap and tank would be used in a carburetor type vehicle, which would have a basic low pressure electric pump, which should feed off either one or both of these fittings. Obviously this is an EFI car, so Raceworks do this really nice twin pump hanger, which is a direct drop into any of their fuel cells. So we're gonna whack this in. The only thing that I'd recommend is to have a good look at where it sits in the tank, because these ones are foam filled. So we're going to have to actually cut the foam around the base of this twin pump hanger, and that'll just give us a bit more room to fit stuff in. But I don't want to remove the foam altogether because it will help with fuel slosh in corners and things like that. The Cresta tank is baffled, but yeah, this style of tank just has the foam fill. So yeah, we're going to trim the foam out, and hopefully we'll get it all back together pretty quickly and get it back in the car. Oh, look at that. Way less potato. We're just about to put our pumps together, but I thought I'd mention it again. We have covered it before, but these pickup screens, particularly the Raceworks ones, come with a little clear plug that does block them off. It is possible, I don't know how you do it, but it is possible to fit this filter with that plug still in there. So please be mindful and make sure you do at least check that pickup screen to make sure that either it does have a plug in it, you remove it, or it doesn't have a plug before you fit it, because block pickup, no fuel. We use AN fittings tons in a lot of cars that we build these days, and we always use these aluminium spanners. People may wonder why we're using this particular style of spanner. In short, it basically protects the fittings and doesn't damage them. There's no reason you couldn't use steel tools on them, but it will eventually mark the fittings and gall them and sort of knock the corners off them. But they also do these aluminium shifters, which are cool. So if you've got a slightly odd size, like we've got 2 flats on this fuel filter, and then you can just grab your standard dash 10, flip it over, give them a nip up. And then it basically keeps your fittings all nice and not rounded. So you can see all the corners are still nice and clean. There's no marking on any of the finishes at all. But yeah, using steel tools on them can damage them pretty badly. So these are both really good options. Obviously, you can get the shifter, which sort of does all the fill-ins, and you can also get the standard spanners. These are both Raceworks products, and yeah, really love these. So use them a lot in all of the cars we build. But yeah, protects your fittings and keeps them neat. When you're making your AN lines, it's really important to flush the hose when you're cutting it. It does actually say in the instructions to wash it out before you use it. We just use brake clean. We've switched to bulk brake clean recently, and it's heaps better. But you can use the can stuff either. It's neither here nor there. It's exactly the same stuff, just comes in a bucket or in a can. So, but yeah, flush out your lines. And also, when you're using them, just give them a bit of lubrication. WD-40 or any sort of spray lubricant like that will be fine. They can gall up the threads if you try and put them on dry, especially if you're just not quite square on them. So yeah, quick spray before you fit them all up. Prevents killing fittings and threads and stuff. So drown it in, it'll be fine. The fuel will wash it out. Sometimes I wish I was about 5'2" and 60 kilos, hey? And I love getting blinded by a light. Now it may sound really obvious, but when you finish each area, it's really important to go back and spanner check stuff. Just make sure every single fitting's tight. I thought I had everything tight, and even then I've gone through and I've nipped up 2 fittings, so that would have been 2 separate fuel leaks. And EFI, it doesn't take long to pump out a lot of fuel, so be super careful when you're making your fuel lines and when you're plumbing everything to go back and spanner check it. So yeah, we've just gone through everything and found 2 loose. So yeah, but that's us finished for the boot now. As far as the fuel system goes, we've got our filter in, got our bulkheads that we'd already run, we've got all of our hard lines inside the car now. Off camera, I secured all those to the tunnel as well as securing the water lines. We've also heat wrapped the water lines with, it's actually plumbing for home use. It's like a rubberized foam type material that insulates the heat, and it's designed to run inside cavity walls, so it should be fine for what we want to do with it. Primarily it's just to actually protect the passenger's legs in the cabin section, but it should be sweet. Too short. If you're extremely intelligent like me and made your hose too short, this one's actually about 10 mil too short now. Just made an error cutting the hose, so fear not. While the compression fittings are single use, you can actually get sleeves separately, or the ferrules separately from the fitting manufacturer. Raceworks make these, a lot of other fitting manufacturers also supply them. So basically that means you can reuse every single bit but the hose and the ferrule inside. An easy way to pull them apart is normally just cut the hose and slide the backing nuts off and then pull the fittings out of it. So we're going to pull this apart now and make one that's actually the right length. Let's get into it. And I'll drop it on the ground. Some of you guys may be wondering why I've just basically butchered a standard good radiator support. The truth of the matter is it looks good on camera, but it's actually been repaired and re-welded and full of bog. So I was planning on unpicking it and actually saving it for another Sylvia. But yeah, like I said, it's actually been repaired quite a few times, and we've worked out that it's actually, this car's actually been cut off at the strut towers and replaced before. Yeah, with that in mind, it's probably not really worth trying to salvage parts that have been repaired and welded 2 or 3 times. So basically chopped the upper radiator support out, and I've welded the bonnet catch support bracket to our 50x50 lower radiator support that we've put in. I think at this point we're going to use a GC8 radiator because there's just more surface area in it. Unfortunately, to do that without cutting the radiator up and effectively making the bottom third of it unusable, we need to notch the rails. But like I said before, when I notched it for the alternator, this isn't a street car. Definitely wouldn't recommend doing this on a street car, but being that this is never going to see the street, it's really not going to be an issue. We're going to box it in anyway and make it as strong, if not stronger than it was factory. But it's probably not legal for road use, so yeah, we're just going to stick to the track with this car. But yeah, we're just going to chop it up and make it work. And the thing that I'm now looking at, and maybe we're going to entertain that idea of actually running the factory SR20 clutch fan in this. So I had a quick look, and the water pump pattern and the spigot are the same size. And we've also got an aftermarket SR20 radiator fan sitting around, so that will pull a stack load more air than a couple of factory thermos, or sorry, electric thermos. So trying to make this thing run as cool as possible, we may look to run the factory clutch driven fan. The problem with that is it then restricts the way we can run our coolant pipes a lot more. But being that the radiator, the GC8 radiator is a cross flow style radiator, not a vertical flow radiator, it may work in our favour. So we'll have a squiz at that. But yeah, we're gonna quickly chop these rails up, give it a bit of a clean up, make a bit more room, and then we'll slot the radiator in and see how badly I screwed up. I've just cleaned up this end of the rail. I've been marking it where to cut, and I've noticed that there's actually a pretty good bend in this rail anyway, so I'm even more happy that we're hacking it up, because that has had a pretty good hit. If it looks that bad after it's been straightened out, there's a really big kink in it. Doesn't make me sad that we're hacking up a pristine S13. This thing's pretty hacked. Like, I mean, the car's straight enough, but it's definitely not a pristine example of an S13 Silvia. Relax, JDM heroes. That makes me feel a bit better about just completely hacking the front of the car apart. We've got our radiator in, it's pretty much final home. We've trimmed both the rails out now and it fits in there pretty neatly. The height's really good, I'm pretty happy with that. And we've just started looking at which way we're going to run the radiator hoses and pipes. Unfortunately though, I think that the height of the water pump on the V8 45 is going to mean that we can't run a clutch fan, because looking across the car now, this actual fan tip is going to be above the height of the bonnet. And this thing's a massive finger slicer at the best of times, so I'm not really too keen on having that stick past the top edge of the bonnet. So I think what I'll do is just buy one of the generic fan shrouds you can buy for the radiator. This is a GC8 WX radiator. So yeah, there's plenty of aftermarket cheap fan shrouds already available with the twin fans on them. So yeah, I think that's the way we're going to go. Nathan did pre-wire thermo fans as well. It was a bit of an afterthought on the clutch fan. Yeah, I would rather run that, but just looking at the height of it, I don't think it's actually going to work. And there's no real way to lower that fan without a lot of bracketry and different belt drives and stuff. And obviously we can't drive it off the crank because then it'll be too low. So yeah, I think we're going to have to just park up the clutch fan idea. But yeah, we've chipped away at a lot of the smaller jobs today. So got all of our AN plumbing for the fuel system done. Obviously we've finished in the boot as well as far as the fuel system in there goes. We've got our starter motor in, got our alternator in. I haven't done any of the boxing of the rails yet, primarily because I haven't got the material to do it. I want to use 2mm plate to do all of that. It's actually a public holiday today, so that basically there's no shops open. So that's pretty much put that to bed. I thought I had some over in the corner, but unfortunately I've only got either 1mm or 4mm, and neither of those are really compatible with the rails. So yeah, we're pretty much going to pack it up for the day. We've got a pretty clear plan on how to plumb the cooling system now. So we've got pretty much our route sorted with that. And the one thing actually, if we do get rid of the clutch fan, is it's going to make it easier to plumb the cooling system. So we can have it a little bit more in the general area rather than crammed right behind that fan. So we should be able to get a fair bit more stuff done in there without, it'll be a simpler setup anyway, so we won't have to run as many bends. But yeah, we're slowly getting through this. Yeah, sorry we haven't covered as much as we probably would have liked to on this build as well. We've just been flat out with other stuff, and this thing's such an involved build as far as what we've done on the channel before. So I'm trying to work away and chip away on this thing every day almost, and generally we only film 1 or 2 days a week. But yeah, I hope that we're covering everything. If there's anything particular you want us to discuss further, or go into more detail, please let us know in the comments and we'll try and cover it in the next video, or the next few videos anyway. So yeah, we're kind of shooting this thing a fair bit ahead of time as well. So yeah, chuck it in the comments and we will try and get back to you as soon as we can. But yeah, we're yeah, chipping away at it, and it's a pretty full-on build, and I'll be pretty proud to see this thing run and blaze some tyres. So we'll pack it up for today, but thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.